Hi everyone, I'm Autistic Ange. This is a podcast for adults who recently found out they are autistic and are looking for other autistic people like them. Do you ever just sit there and wonder, how you got this far in life? I actually think about this on a pretty regular basis, and I can't help it, thoughts just come to me, and sometimes I'll be thinking about something that I went through in the past, because maybe something similar is happening in the future and it made me think of that event in the past. And I will wonder, how did I make it through that situation without the skill set that I needed? You know what I mean? And so I was thinking about different things throughout my life that I made it through these things, but not a lot of them. It wasn't in the most ethical way possible, I guess I should say. So I thought I would just talk about some of these things that I used to do, some of them that I still do. And maybe you guys can relate having done some of these things, hopefully, maybe it's not just me. So let me just start with dyscalculia, because I have dyscalculia, and I have had issues with math my entire life. I don't know how I made it through math in the lower grades, but I started junior high. I found out how to cheat my way through math from junior high to high school to college. And back in high school, when they had those scientific calculators, they would let you use those for tests. And I would pretend I didn't have one when it came time to take the test. And so my friend and I were sitting right next to each other, and we would pass the calculator back and forth, and she was a whiz in math, and so she was able to write the answers to the questions on the calculator for me, and I just copied it down, wrote some stuff down to make it look like I tried to work through the problem, and then that was that. And, I never got caught. I guess I shouldn't be proud of that, but I was really crafty in math classes. Any way you can cheat, I did it. And it didn't occur to me, because I was a kid, to tell anybody that I was struggling so much with this subject. I don't think I ever let on to anybody that math was really that hard for me. And it's weird because as a kid, you can only think to a certain extent, but, I don't know, when exactly I started cheating and, how I thought to start doing that. So the most of that, happened with, the subject of math, like I said. And in college, I got away with it a little bit easier because I went, my majors were criminal justice, and then I minored in psychology, because those two usually go hand in hand anyways. And so, there are not very many math classes that you have to take. I had to take, a dummy class to get into an actual math class in college. And then I was able to take that math class online, so I could use whatever resource I wanted to try to pass those tests. So that was, really helpful for me. And then I had a stats class, my senior year of college. And that I almost failed that class and didn't graduate because, I manipulated the professor a bit, and I'm really not proud of that. So I don't know how the fuck I got through stats. I don't know what any of that was about. I never knew what was going on. I tried to teach myself. I tried to pay attention in class. Nothing was clicking. I just felt dumb every single day. And, I was starting to bomb the tests. So I would go after class for extra help from like the professor. So I wanted to show him like, hey, like I really do care about this subject and I really do want to get better at it. And that wasn't really the truth. Like, I didn't really care about the subject. I didn't really want to get that much better at it, but I wanted to figure out what I could do to pass, is basically what I did. And the guy was a really nice guy. And in the end, he gave me a D, which still somehow allowed me to graduate. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought you had to get C's, but I just remember getting a D and like being so relieved that I didn't get an F, which probably that would have prevented me from graduating. And I think it was like a pity D because he knew I was going to graduate, and that like if I didn't pass his class, I wouldn't be able to. And I didn't talk about that. Like, I didn't want to throw that in his face, but I manipulated that guy into getting a passing grade. That's how I got through math in college. And speaking of manipulation, when I think back to the military, like I think about like basic training. So like when you go in, it like at the time it was like 6 weeks, and you have to like, I forgot if I think the training comes after the 6 weeks. I can't remember, but like you have basic training, and then after that you have like tech school for whatever your specialty is. So in basic training, you had to do everything perfectly, like perfect bed corners, perfect way of folding your clothes, like all this stuff had to be perfect. And I could not make the bed the way that it was supposed to be made. It always had wrinkles. I never could figure it out, no matter how many times I watched somebody do it. So I manipulated people into like doing things for me. So basically, like, because you're supposed to have different duties and stuff, like when you're living in the dorm with everybody else and everybody takes turns cleaning, whatever. So I managed to get the job of floor scuffer. I don't know if I came up with that name or if that was the actual name of the job. I'm pretty sure I created I might have created it. Like a floor scuffer is just like, cause when you're wearing boots in basic training and then you use the polish to like clean your boots, and then like, like you drag your feet on the floor and it scuffs and leaves a mark, or like just your shoes scuff. You would go around and like I would bend over with this rag, and I forgot what the solution was that easily cleaned the marks up off the floor. But like that's all I did was I walked around the dorm, bent over, wiped out some scuff marks, and that was it. And that was like super easy. I had gotten out of having to clean the bathrooms because I don't like doing those. So I got somebody else to do it in exchange for like, I don't know, a snack or something. And then like, at night, what we used to do is once we were supposed to go to bed, after about 20 minutes when the lights had gone off, like most of us would get up and go to the bathroom and sit in the bathroom and in the shower stalls and everything, and like work on fixing our uniforms, because you couldn't have any strings, you couldn't have like buttons hanging. Everything had to just be perfect and lined up and all that. And that did not sound appealing to me, because like I just didn't want to go to the bathroom and sit there with a bunch of the other girls and work on my uniform. I didn't want to bring my uniform to the bathroom. That's gross. Like, so I manipulated people into doing my shit for me. I had somebody that worked on the strings on my uniform. I had somebody that made sure the buttons were all like, not falling off or anything like that. I had somebody that shined my boots, and I can't tell you exactly how I got them to do those things for me. I just remember I manipulated them somehow. I mean, it's kind of funny in some ways, but it like really isn't. I'm not proud that I did that. I think it was just because like the anxiety of everything having to be perfect. And I think like I just knew I didn't have it in me to like, I couldn't be quote perfect. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I notice details. I notice very small things that people miss. And then there's things that like are right in front of me that like I miss. So like it's hit or miss, like whatever, whatever it is and however I'm feeling or whatever. But like, what if I don't catch a string because like that happened at one point and you get yelled at for it. And if you get enough like infractions, I forgot what the actual term was, but like if you do enough things wrong, you get recycled back like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, having to start all over again in basic training. Nobody wanted to get recycled. So like you had to do everything the way that you were supposed to do it. And I started getting like multiple infractions like within the first like week or two because I just couldn't do shit the right way. And that's when I started like getting other people to do stuff for me. But because I didn't want to get recycled back. And I just wasn't good at polishing my boots to perfection. Like I'm not good with stuff like that. Making the bed with the corners a certain way, no wrinkles. It's all stupid stuff anyways. Like it all was just ridiculous. I understood like their method and why it had to be that way. And, it's like breaking you down and building you up like a cult would. But I'm not calling the military a cult, just basic training. No, I'm not calling any of that a cult. What am I talking about? But anyways, so manipulation started pretty young with me. Also, so like I'm in tech school after that. So I think they are separate. So I finished basic training and then I went to tech school, which was, I think, another 6 weeks. And I remember feeling so anxious because I had a roommate. I had never I never shared a room with just like one other person, I guess I should say. Like in basic training, like you're in like this ginormous room with like 20 or 30 other girls. It doesn't really matter. But like it was weird sharing a room with just one other person. And I didn't like it. I didn't feel like I had my space or anything like that. If you hear anything, that's my cat fucking around. Honey. So anyways, yeah, so like, what was I talking about? I don't remember. Oh, this time it is marijuana. Tech school. Oh my God. Yes. Sorry about that. So like I was dealing with the anxiety of sharing a room with somebody and getting used to that. And then this girl like wanted to talk all the time. She wanted to be like best friends. And I really didn't want any of that. But, I was started masking hardcore when I was in tech school. And so as the days went on, I just was getting more and more anxious because of all the different things that you had to do, all the different places you were supposed to go. They would make you run in like 100-degree weather. This was like in Mississippi too. Like we did something called the Keesler Shuffle because we were at the Keesler Air Force Base for tech school. And the shuffle, like, it's not walking, but it's not running, but it looks like you're moving. So that's what everybody did. And like, I didn't do well in like hot temperatures. So like I would pass out a few times, it was just every time I turned around, something was making me anxious. So this guy that I used to date in high school happened to be like in the area visiting a friend, had no idea that I was in tech school there. And so a little bit of history on this guy. He wasn't a bad guy. He was very nice, but like he wanted to get like pretty serious pretty quickly. And I remember thinking like, oh, we're teenagers. Like I don't want to get into like a full-fledged relationship with this dude. And he would come around to the house and sit outside my window at night and just stare up. And it was fucking weird. And it was at the point where like my parents had to go talk to his parents because we were going to get a restraining order because the kid kept coming around. Because I eventually was like, I broke up with him and then he just started coming around more until like they talked to his parents. But anyways, that's the guy that was in the area. And long story short, I thought it was a good idea to get married to him while I was in tech school. And I was only 19. And I remember that he thought it was a good idea, obviously, I guess. And I remember going and talking to somebody in their office at tech school, and I was talking about we want to get married. And I remember the lady just gave me this look like, are you crazy? But they did perform marriage services. So, but right before it actually happened, I chickened out and I was like, never mind. And I just kind of left the guy high and dry. And I feel really bad about that too. But the reason why I almost got married is because I remember thinking, like, how the hell am I going to be able to live on my own? I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like I never learned, like, life skills from my parents. So I felt like, I was floundering. I knew that after tech school, the next step was going to the air base and, like, living in the dorms. And I just thought that, like, getting married to somebody meant that I would have somebody that would, like, help me through all those situations so I wouldn't have to feel alone. And thank goodness, I came to see the light because I was talking with my mother and she was not happy about it for obvious reasons. And so I called it off. And even to this day, I am mortified that, like, I almost got married just so I wouldn't be alone in the big bad world. Like, and like, keep in mind too, like, the majority of my, the majority of my childhood was spent in Japan, where you're isolated, and I was only in the States for 3 years, but that was Hawaii. So, like, I didn't know nothing about anything. And I was afraid of everything. So, yeah. So that was that. And then, like, so I was over in England for 5 years. And they had, like, lemon lots, I think is what they were called, where, like, it's used cars that people are selling and you just walk through and find one that you like. And so for the 5 years I was there, I averaged, like, about a car a year. I had a total of 4 cars because what happened was I never got oil changes. If they lasted a year to, like, the inspection, I would get them then. But basically, like, I just never took care of the cars. I didn't know you were supposed to get regular oil changes. I didn't know, like, what was a good model or not. And these cars were pretty cheap. They were, like, at the most $5,000 up front, so they weren't expensive. But I was so stupid. Like, I just was like, oh, I'll just drive this car, and then when it stops working, I'll just, like, buy another one. And that was the way I thought. Yeah, I don't remember ever being taught by my parents about, like, how you take care of vehicles. Like, they didn't even teach me how to pump gas. So, so yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. And then speaking of, like, cars, like, I used to be a very reckless driver. Like, I was a road rager. And I'm not proud of this either. I mean, most of this stuff was in, like, my 20s to, like, my very early 30s. So, the age range, I guess, if that helps. Not really an excuse, but more of an explanation. But I was a not a good driver. If somebody cut me off, I would fucking tail them. Like, I did all kinds of crazy things. I would flip people off. I would do everything short of, like, bumping into them. And that went on for years. And it only stopped when I stopped working for other people and I started working for myself from home. And then I drove, like, way less. And I didn't really have road rage because I wasn't having to go out very far for very long. So that kind of just went away. But that's embarrassing. Excuse me. I have been, throughout my life, too anxious to go to places by myself. Like, for instance, the DMV. places that you would not normally go to, like, on a regular basis. Like, not even, like, I'm not talking about, like, going to, like, to see the doctor, like, once or twice a year, but, like, the DMV, you would only go there, like, once every, several years, unless something happened in between then. So, like, going to new places I had never been before or did not go to very often were very, like, anxiety-inducing for me. Because I would have to think about, where do I park? Am I going to be charged for parking? Is this even the right building? I mean, like, all kinds of stuff. And back then, there was no Google Maps or anything like that. Like, you had MapQuest, and you can print out some shit and hope that the directions were good. Sometimes they were not. But that hasn't really changed. But, like, when I think back to, like, my 20s, and I was kind of forced to do these things because it was just me, I did them. And I had lots of anxiety. Like, I would map out the route that I would take. I would do practice drives. I did this for, like, college too, when I was living, like, when I switched to, like, the 4-year college, it was like an hour's drive away. And so I remember, like, about a week before classes were going to start, I drove out there a few different times to see how long it took me. Once I got into the city, like, I had to figure out how to maneuver. Like, I just needed to know what to do so that nothing would surprise me on the day I was supposed to be there. And I've done that throughout my whole life. Like, I did that in, like, high school and college, like, in the 2-year, the community college. I would, like, just go and scope out the rooms and figure out where everything was so that I wasn't having to worry about that, because I already knew I was going to be anxious about being there and being around people, like, but to put on top of that, not knowing where the fuck to go, that wouldn't have sat very well with me. So yeah, and I think, like, I was also very impulsive in my 20s too, which, explains, like, the road rage and stuff, but, I mean, I would do these things for myself, and, now, since I have my wife, it's like I don't want to do those things by myself, because I know that I can have her take me now. And now I know why I'm like that, because I've always beat myself up for being, like, a grown-ass woman that needs to bring somebody with her to go to the dentist or something like that. But yeah, so, like, I definitely do not feel like I did in my 20s. I was also very confrontational in my 20s. I probably should have gotten shanked a bunch of times, and I did not. Yeah, I mean, like, if you looked at me the wrong way in the store, like, I was coming at you. Like, not physically, but I was just a bitch. And I know, looking back now, that was just a bunch of crap that was surfacing from my childhood, and, like, that bullshit. I was just not a very nice person. But yeah, what else? Years of masking. I don't know how I did that. I didn't know how. I didn't even know I was doing that consciously. Like, that's weird too. Like, that I never sat there and was like, like, why am I acting this way? Well, it's because of this. And, I didn't do any of that. And, so, like, how did I make it this far with doing all that masking? It's hard. You have to do it every single day. Superficial relationships. I never had a genuine relationship until I met my wife. I hate to keep going back to her, but, like, it is what it is. But the relationships I had were superficial on purpose. Like, I would not open up to people. I didn't trust people because I had been burnt so many times. I only made friends, like, and this is mostly, like, in the military, when I was on my own. Like, I mostly tried to make friends because I thought you were supposed to. Like, that's what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to have friends that you went and did things with on, like, the weekends. And I never really enjoyed hanging out with people. And, like, people wanted to hang out a lot. And I had a hard time doing it, like, once a week. So the relationships were, like I was very interested in other people and getting to know them and like what they've been through. And they had no problem talking about themselves, but like I would keep the focus away from me. And that's another thing I didn't really realize on the surface that like I was doing. But yeah. And living, oh my God, I can't talk. I have to stop this soon. Living independently by myself all of these years, I don't know how the hell I did that. I mean, shit, with all the stuff I have going on in my head now, like, I don't know if it got worse when I got older or if it's just always been there. Like, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, I never used to be this bad, but like, I have been able to live independently ever since I left home. And I, after the whole, like, almost getting married thing, I was able to figure it out. But I did it. Like, I lived in the dorms when I was in the military. I moved off base to two different houses. Holy shit. It's not the pot. Is it? I don't know. But anyways, so I wouldn't say that it was always successful because in like one of those houses when I moved off base, my landlord was like really, really nice. She was a nice lady. She made it a point to let me know that she was available if I ever needed anything. And I had a hard time like calling people like in general, but like I felt like I would be a bother to her if I called her and was like, hey, this isn't working. Can you come fix it? Like I just felt like I'd be this huge, like she'd get mad or something. Like I don't know what, but I just remember thinking like I can't bother her with this. Hold on. Dry mouth. So what ended up happening was for an entire year, I had for like a few months boiling hot water. So like when I went to take showers, scalding hot. Boy, did I get burned. And and then something happened. And then for like several months after that, it was just icy cold water. And I would just take ice cold showers. And I don't know why I never said, I mean, I do know, but like, why did I never say anything? Like, I just thought that I'd be that much of a burden not to call my landlord and be like, hey, something's wrong. Like, can you come fix, the water? That's so simple, but it was the hardest thing for me. And I'm still trying to like understand that, but like, and what had happened was like the landlord, had stopped by one day and was asking how things were going, and that's when I brought up the water thing. But I didn't tell her how long it had been going on, because that would have been embarrassing, and I knew she would have said something, but, I mean, that wasn't fun. That's kind of embarrassing, too, but whatever. But yeah, and, like, I got out of the military, I've lived in a few different apartments, no problem. Now I live in a house, no problem now. But, like I hear that a lot of, like, I don't know if a lot is, I don't know what the stats are, but many autistic people have difficulty living by themselves from what I'm learning. But also I think just as many don't have difficulties living by themselves. I find it hard to believe that there's an autistic person out there that doesn't have any problems living by themselves or like independently. You can still like live with someone and live independently. Like there's got to be something that we worry about. Like, I mean, my viewpoint is obviously very limited because like I've got only mine in like the resources I can find. But yeah, I don't know what I was just talking about, so I should probably end this episode. Sorry about that. I should probably not have taken marijuana. I only took it because, I don't remember. Okay, well, oh my God. This isn't, maybe I won't publish this. Well, I talked already for half an hour. I have to now. Anyways, This was just me recording to an app on my phone, hoping people find me and listen and relate and don't think I'm too crazy, and hopefully have a similar experience to the one I had when I heard myself on somebody else's podcast. Have a good whatever. Goodbye.